From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe.
Good morning and welcome to Atlantic Television Network. This is Atlantic Blowout. Atlantic Blowout is a syndicated live program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversation on special interest topics, news, events, and stories through correspondent reports, expert opinion, and stakeholder analysis. Today on Blowout, we look at Anchor's chart. Hunger, customs begin sale of seized foreign rice to Nigerians. And then we go to Lagos State, civil servants to work 3 days a week. ASU, president speaks on salaries, welfare, and student loan. And on hardship, CUC pulls out of planned strike protest with NLC. Still on hunger crisis, Makinde slams Akpabio, claims 30 billion naira to states. False. Maritime, federal government plans $800 million port rehabilitation fund. On ECOWAS, court set up committees over unimplemented budgets. And on diplomatic ties, Gowon advises ECOWAS to lift sanctions on Mali and others. When we come back from this break, we'll dive right into it. Don't go away.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Welcome back. Customs begin sale of seized foreign rice to Nigerians. The Nigerian Customs Service on Thursday has begun the sale of seized foreign parboiled Nigerians in Lagos. It was reported that the service had planned to sell 50 kg of rice for 20,000 naira in order to mitigate the soaring price of rice and cushion the economic hardship on Nigerians. However, speaking to journalists in Lagos during the flag-off of the sales, the Comptroller General of Customs, Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, said the sale of rice will begin at all custom formations where seized items were available from Friday, February 23, 2024 at 10,000 naira per 25 kg and 20,000 naira for 50 kg. He, however, disclosed that items will be sold to only Nigerians with genuine needs and will work with the police force to maintain the integrity of the exercise. According to him, the criteria include having a verifiable national identity number, NIN, and the targeted beneficiaries are faith-based organizations, artisans, teachers, among others. The Customs Comptroller General, however, disclosed that should the products be found in commercial stores, it will be seized while the store will be sealed and the owner prosecuted. Now, this is it on Anchor's chart this morning. The Comptroller General of Customs has come out to say that they are set to sell forfeited and seized parboiled foreign rice to Nigerians, and this is their own quota to make sure that the hunger crisis in the country is currently being tackled. However, I have questions, and I guess there will be questions in the hearts of a lot of people. Now, first of all, let us look at the centralization or decentralization of these sales. Custom ports is not everywhere. Their formations are not rife in the country like you get the Nigerian police force. So which begs the question, how will people who are actually in need of this rice get to it? How? Now, in the urban areas, protests are breaking out every day in different parts of the country. In the urban area right now, people are hungry, people are complaining of inability to buy foodstuff. If it could be this stuff in urban areas, I am wondering what the situation is like in the rural areas, where we have a lot of people who are basically farmers, palm wine tappers, and people who do menial day-to-day jobs, who do not even and cannot even afford this 10,000 naira for a bag of 25 kg rice. What happens to those people? How will custom get to those people? Because in order of priority and in order of need, the people in the rural areas should be considered first. However, if this formation, as the case may be, are not centered in the rural areas, it means that the people in the rural areas are being cut off from this purchase, they are being cut off from these sales. Do not also forget that the price and fuel hike occasioned by the removal of subsidy has affected transportation greatly. So, the people in rural areas who are unable to afford 3 square meals a day and who are struggling to buy medicine for food may not have the convenience of getting transport money to ferry themselves to locations where this rice is being sold. Excuse me. Now, moving forward, let us look at the prices of this rice. For 25 kg of rice, it has been pegged at 10,000 naira, and 50 kg of rice has been pegged at 20,000 naira. The truth is, while this might be applaudable because compared to the current price of locally made rice, which is 78,000 naira right now, it appears that the foreign rice being sold at 20,000 naira for 50 kg is a giveaway. While that is applaudable, like I said earlier, the situation in the country is so dire that people may not be able to afford the 20,000 naira for 50 kg of rice. And that is the sad reality in this country right now. Now, these are food items that are being seized. On the other hand, food items that have been forfeited by their owners. Isn't it fair at this point in time that the customs give away this rice for real at little or no cost, or at a cost that will be extremely affordable for Nigerians? We are talking about Nigerians who are unable to buy medicine. We're talking about Nigerians who are unable to buy or afford 3 square meals per day for themselves. We are talking of Nigerians who the wage award is not up to the amount being sold for 25 kg of rice in the market. We are talking of Nigerians who wage award for the wage award of 30,000 naira, as the case may be, is not up to half tank, or it's not up to full tank for a saloon vehicle in the country right now. The reality is sad, is startling, and it's worrisome. In face of these challenges, in face of this dire economic crisis, and in face of this hunger, it is important that the customs should reconsider the price with which they've pegged the rice. Selling a bag of forfeited rice at 20,000 naira for 50 kg, while some may applaud it, it also is not affordable for the majority of people who genuinely need this rice. We are talking of people who live below poverty level. We are talking of Nigerians whom their purchasing power has not just been reduced, but has literally been cut off. If a Nigerian right now cannot afford 3 square meals, how would the Nigerian get money for a bag of rice? Now, when you look at it critically, you find out that at the end of the day, the people that will be able to afford this rice are still people who are relatively comfortable. Right now, it is difficult, extremely difficult for Nigerians. Nigeria has never gone so low in poverty. Nigeria has never gone so low in hunger. The reality is a sad one. While the government is making frantic efforts to see how they can alleviate or ameliorate the effects of this hunger, it is important that they work harder. Because whatever efforts that are being made by the government is not having as much impact as the hunger is having on Nigerians. Yesterday, there was a protest in Suleja, Abuja. How is this? It is sad that day after day, the protests are breaking out in different parts of the country. While some may argue that the protests are being sponsored, that is left for the eyes to see. But the reality is this: there have been different reasons for protests in the country over the years. But protest for food, protest for hunger, that is a red flag on its own. And while we call on the customs to further review the prices that they've pegged, their 50 bags of rice and 25 kg bags of rice, we also call on the government in the same breath to do more, because whatever that is being done right now, it is not enough. Now, let us look critically at what the government claimed to have been doing. On one hand, Senator Fabio came out to say that the federal government has released or releases 30 billion naira monthly to states through the Federal Inland Revenue. And on the other hand, the Governor Makinde, has come out to debunk that and said that the government is not giving them or has not given them anything. Who do we believe at this point? Are they playing politics with the situation in Nigeria? Now, on one hand, the federal government says they are making efforts to mitigate the situation. Cardoso, the central bank manager, has also come out to tell Nigerians to exercise patience, that they are working frantically morning and night to ensure that this situation is under control. But on the other hand, there is still multiple taxation. On the other hand, there is daily increments in things in Nigeria. For example, the city has told Nigerians that they are working hard to curb the impact of hunger. They are working hard to make sure that Nigeria comes back to its former glory. But on the other hand, in face of this crisis, keeps increasing the custom duty rates per dollar. On the other hand, electricity tariff has been increased, and the government is pushing to remove payment of subsidy on electricity. Do not forget that this whole situation snowballed into a state of panic when the president, during his speech, announced to Nigerians that subsidy is gone. And from that night, the situation in the country snowballed and nosedived into crisis. While the government is working frantically to ensure that Nigerians are pulled out of this situation, it is also important that the government and government parastatals come up with policies that are friendly to Nigerians, come up with policies that Nigerians, on the other hand, will have a feeling that the government is not insensitive to their plight, that the government actually cares about the welfare of the common man and the common Nigerian. So policies should be reviewed downward. Policies, pegging of prices, hyperinflation on different things, multi-taxation should be reviewed. The truth of the matter at this point is this: electricity tariff has increased, and at the same time there is epileptic power supply in the country. Little to no power supply in the country, and Nigerians are paying for services that they are not enjoying. We do have value for that we pay to these gencos. On the other hand, it has affected businesses. The dollar volatility has affected small, medium enterprises. Businesses are closing down every day. Now, while the government is putting money on practically every sector of the country in order to generate revenue, the government is losing because the country is no more investor friendly. The country does not support the struggling business. The country does not support the upcoming business because of multiple taxation, because of multiple licenses that appear to be similar. So while the government is taking steps frantically, like they have said, to pull Nigerians out of this situation, it is very important that the government also looks critically at the policies that they are churning out every day and how it is affecting the ordinary Nigerians, and also look at how to empower and to make the small medium enterprises even stronger, as the government cannot ignore the revenue being generated from that sector. That will be all today on Anchor's Chat. Do not go away. We'll come back and I introduce my guest to you. This is still Blowout on Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the today, only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history,
We are one people, all of us.
leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
on the line.
Welcome back. With me on the show today is Honorable Israel Daniel. Honorable Israel Daniel is a socio-political analyst. You're welcome today, Mr. Honorable Israel.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have you. All right, on to the stories. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says his administration will be reducing public servants' working days as part of plans to cushion the cost of living crisis in the country. On the rising cost of food, he added that his administration will open more markets where Lagosians can buy food items at discounted rates, adding that the 25% reduction on transport services will start this weekend for the state public transport system. The governor also said his administration was also in discussions with various transport unions to reduce their fares, and also challenge the private sector to look into what they can do for the citizens by replicating their role during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Honorable Israel, that is the Lagos State Governor saying that he wants to reduce the number of days civil servants come to work in Lagos State, reducing it from 5 days to 3 days. Are there any economic implications to this move?
I think this is just a replication of what the idea that came up in Anambra some years back.
Okay. And
people said it was trying to reduce the salary. That was why the governor was trying to reduce the days of work. But it's very, very obvious presently that you can't ask me to come to work 5 days in a week. I pay increased transport and I have to feed. And at the end of it, what am I taking home? For me, it's a good idea, a very perfect idea. Not that it will add to the economy, but it will give you enough opportunity to engage yourself in other things. You can add other hustling to your own, any source of income you can go with. I think that is what he is trying to create. But my concern is he should not tamper with their wage. Their salary should not be tampered with. If I am to come to work 3 times a week, don't tamper with my salary. Instead of that, there should be an increment. In fact, presently what we want to see is, since things are increasing, let everything increase. So there should be an increment on the salary, even while you're telling them, because the trauma alone of this situation is killing so many Nigerians. When you know that you have 10,000 and that 10,000 is not enough for even 2 days feeding, it's killing Nigerians seriously. That is a trauma alone. So for the benefit of these workers staying alive, let's look at increasing their salary even when you're reducing the days of work. For me, that is what I am looking at. But let's also look at the political implications. Maybe they will be running shift, but if we look at it critically, what work are they actually doing as civil servants? What are the relevant offices that are functional? Those relevant offices that are functional, are you going to be reducing their days of work? Those people working directly in the government house, are they going to be reducing their days of work? Those vital agencies that actually function almost every hour of the day, are you going to be reducing their days of work? These are the things we are looking at. Are you going to be running shift whereby pushing other civil servants from different agencies that are not doing anything to be functional as per se running shift on this side? It simply means if I'm coming for 3 days, there are another set of persons covering the remaining 2 days. These are the things we'll consider. Another thing is, let it not harm the level of productivity when it comes to work.
So it has economic consequences.
Yes, let it not harm the level of productivity, because sometimes when you reduce work days and you don't properly manage it, you find out that those days that you have some of these inactive persons coming on board, you have poor productivity, especially if it is something that has to do with day-to-day running, IDS, and the rest of it. You have poor productivity. So I think that is what they should look at. Then for those that are up to level 15 and above, level 12 and above, I think there should be no day off, because their services are always needed. They are coming close to the peak of their service for the whole civil service year. So it is better they remain in office working all week. Actually, they don't do much. if you know what happened in the civil service, you know that they don't do much. It's a place of, how will I even put it? They set the goal for the day, and you can achieve it within a space of 1 or 2 hours, and you're done for the whole day. You just sit down in the office to make sure your presence is there. So I don't see any, in fact, my concern is just don't reduce the money. If you like, let them not come to work for the whole week, no problem. But don't. For
the whole week?
No problem. If he knows how to manage it.
How is that productive?
No, we are not looking. See what they are looking at now. They are looking at this shift. In fact, Lagos State Governor is looking at it as a way of reducing the cost
of transportation.
Not just transportation, reducing the cost of surviving. Okay. That is what he's trying to do. When you don't come to work, that money you spend on transportation is saved. That money you spend on the snacks of a thing is also saved. So he is looking at saving costs, channel that money to something else. And that is why I say don't reduce the salary, rather increase the salary. Now, another measure he can take, instead of reducing the days of work, why not you step on the salary and give them transport allowance? Let there be transport allowance.
He's not saying anything about
Let there be transportation allowance. It simply means I earn 100,000 at the end of the month, and I have close to 25,000 or 20,000 based on the increment as my transport allowance outside my salary. Nothing stops me from coming to work all day. Nothing stops me. In fact, I will be happy to leave my house because I know there is something that is covering my transport. At the end of the month, the 100,000 is for me to take care of my family. So if he wants to help the civil servants, cutting 2 days off from work, I don't see much need. The only thing I look at is for those sectors that are key to productivity, you dare not touch. In fact, there are some persons that will be exceptional when it comes to this matter. You dare not touch them. Some of them will even work on Saturdays.
Now, let's look at those key sectors now. People on essential duty, right? Now, if, let's say, the government comes up to say from Monday to Wednesday in Lagos, civil servants are expected to come to work, then from their weekends will now start from Thursdays. They are not expected to come to work. So Monday to Wednesday, that's the 3 days, right? Now, these other people who are essential workers, who must come to work every day of the week, they will feel cheated. And don't you think it may cause some level of, unrest, some level of anger in those people, especially if their wages are not increased and they are still meant to work the way they have been working?
The mistake he will do is to increase the wages of those that will constantly come to work. Everybody will want to come to work. Because what they are working for is for the money. Okay. They are not working for any other thing. They are working for the money. So when you reduce, you find out that everybody wants to be part of the work. They want to put in, they want to pass through the back door to see who is who, to make sure I am part of people coming to work for the 5 days, so that I can receive that increase. Now, what we are looking at is, there is always a way to compensate. There is always allowance over time. Those are the things that private sector always do. You introduce it to the public sector now. Now, when I am working 2 days extra, there should be a kind of overtime allowance that is between me and the people paying. So if I'm spending 4 hours extra, I should be paid for it. In Africa, there is something we don't do. We don't pay per hour. We don't even pay per day. We pay per overhead cost being a month. And at the end of it, the overhead cost being a month is not even up to 1 week or 2 weeks payment if you're paying per day. That is the problem we're having. So once you say there should be overtime payments, yes, the people will be happy, they want to be productive. Everybody also might want to work overtime. Now, that is if the overtime is attractive. Okay. So if you're looking at productivity, I think it's time to draw your roster. Every commission, every ministry, draw your roster, and what you do is try your best to make sure there is an adequate shift by every professional staffs and those coming up. Let there be an adequate shift for them to function. And we know that their pay is not the same thing. Those that are high in rank, they always receive higher. Now, place them in a way whereby it will not affect anything. Now, when you have done this, now you'll be opening the eyes of Nigerians to know that all these persons coming to work in a day is almost 50% useless. In the sense that if I am running shift and we are 50 working, every day. Now we are 25, we are giving the same result. What was the need of the other 50 coming to work every day? So there was no need employing them. You're just crowding the commission. That is just what you're doing. So what he wants to do now, we open Nigerians' eyes to so many things, especially in Lagos that is overpopulated, and you have shortage of people coming to work, and you still have the same productivity going on.
Won't it lead to downsizing at some point?
That is what it will surely get to. That was what ended Anambra's own, because he was saying, give me 3 days of your week, and take 2 days and go to farm and do your business and do everything. While we pay for the 3 days. With that, now they will start seeing, if that is the case, after 1 month, 2 months, as everybody come back to work, you're not needed, you're not needed, you're not needed, because they have now seen that there was no need. I've said this before, that even down to the local government, the state, you have so many staffs employed doing nothing. And they are all tagged as civil servants. What are you actually? They do nothing, literally nothing. Now, with this, other states will want to copy. Okay. Other states want to implement. Once the governors see that it is not affecting their finance, rather it is growing the finance, in the sense that them not coming to work, there might be a negotiation. Many of them will like it. Those doing businesses will even like it. Those ones that don't come to work at all and collect money, they will not like it because they're already not coming to work. So if there is a downsizing of staffs any moment from now, you see that it might even go up to 40% off.
The downsizing of staff, don't you think it will be vehemently opposed? Because how do you downsize staff in this current reality? The problem is we always like free things. In Nigeria, we like free things. In fact, we admire free things so much. And that is why you see somebody buying in the market. If you don't give him that jar, he might leave a goods of over 100,000 and go home. Just for that jar, he needs that one more than the goods. Now, if we want to actually, we are shouting this country is bad, we should restructure this country. If I am given the opportunity to do so, I will not just start from the politicians alone. I will also go down to the civil service. And when I go down to the civil service, one of the things I will do is to actually downsize the staff strength. Because if I have 100 staffs and I need less than 25 to function, and I will get the same result, what do I need those other persons for? The salary I should be paying them, I should cut it down, and I should embark more in grants to small businesses, which they will fall under very soon. That is just what will happen. Now, remember that this same workforce that do nothing, their pension is being saved and they will be paid pension after their retirement, but they were doing nothing all through their service. So when you see the level of retired civil servants that are expecting pension every month, and you look at the work in the result when they were serving, you cannot compare the number and the result they got. The result is always lesser. So if we cannot cut it, we are saving this country of spending more after their retirement, because they will no longer be part of those things. It will be terminated. Now, use that money to empower the small-scale business. But the problem is, even when we collect from this place that is not doing well, to give it to where it's doing well is always a problem. Rather, when you collect at the middle point, the money doesn't move again. It remains there. And that is why we say to whom much is given, to whom much is expected, much is given. That is where we use that slogan now. To whom much is expected, much is given. Simply means as we are shouting, the president should sit up, he should do like this. He's collecting more because that is much is expected of him. So he has to grab more. That is the way they have interpreted it to be. So we should not consider how they will feel, family will feel, how this person will feel. Something happened in the States, I think that was 2016. And the governor came up and discovered that over 10,000 persons were employed into the civil service. And the finance to pay them wasn't there. He sacked all the 10,000 and asked them to wait too. So that peace will reign first. Because it's not about employing them, it's about paying them. Those same persons that will be crying when you sack them, if you don't pay them for 1 month, you don't pay them for the second month, they will cry more louder than even the sack. They will be, I'm working and you're not paying me. And the question is, are we having a lack in the workforce before we employ up to 10,000 again? If we're having that lack, then we can't sack them because they are relevant. But if we sack them and the whole sectors are still moving on, then there was no need in employing.
So let's not just be pushing people into civil service work. Let's consider the financial implication to the state and to the federal government.
Okay. Okay, still on Lagos State, Governor Sanwo-Olu also talked about cutting down on the cost of transportation, in order to mitigate the effects of this hunger and poverty. And secondly, most recently, he said he was going to feed Lagosians to Mama Put once a day. So what's your take on that? Is it viable? One, is it sustainable? That's the first question. Is it sustainable? Is it also viable? Is it genuinely what the people need to curb hunger right now?
It's a misplaced priority, a very misplaced priority. Let me explain this. What he wants to do is opening another channel of looting. That is just what he wants to do. Wow. We should go back to what happened in COVID-19, and where they say they will feed students, they will feed this, palliative, and the rest of it. Many persons became billionaires through that means. Many persons became millionaires through that means. Don't tell us you come to the road and start feeding people. No. There is nothing wrong with you creating channels where finance can get to these people's hand. So why will I start coming to the road to line up to eat? Because the government wants to feed me once a day. There are, in fact, even when the country was stabilized, we still had people that they were not even feeding once a day. Why didn't you go out to feed them? Is it now? And let's look at this. Whether we like it or not, money is coming from the federal government to the states, no matter how little, in addition to cushion some certain things, although some of them are saying return the money and the rest of it. Now, what you are trying to do is to have a good name for the finance that is coming in. And that is opening a big channel to loot. Because those persons that you're giving the contract of feeding, very soon you'll be hearing that the plate goes for 2,000. A plate goes for 3,000. That is what we will be hearing very soon. And that is what we spend. When you hear how many billion that is spent in a month in feeding, and you ask yourself, where is the food? Many persons will be made well with only. That would be a very big mistake. We have told that place before and we have seen the lapses. So why go back to that place? When we said during COVID-19, the Ministry of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation sent money to people for kind of palliative and the rest of it. We saw what happened. How much was sent? How much was held back? And at the end of it, they said they will probe, they will do this. The case have died off. Please don't feed anybody. What you do is create something that will put food in the people's hand. Indirectly, come to a young boy on the streets that doesn't have to eat. Give him 100,000 to buy pure water or buy drink and start selling. You have empowered him than coming to feed him every day once. At the end of it, the day you stop feeding him, how will he survive? Right. And he might be feeling, no how food will come today. You create more lazy youth around. Because some of them will eat from this point, go to the next point to eat. So at the end of it, some of them will be eating 3 square meals. So they don't see the reason to work. When it doesn't come, they start begging. So don't help us to pollute the environment. Carry that money. If, let's just assume a billion naira is shared, 100,000 naira to youth. Every month, as it comes, every month 1 billion is shared. Before 1 year, do you know how many youths that have benefited from it? And trust me, once you empower hawkers, you be rest assured that the profit is coming. Not about youths that are sitting at home waiting for big money. I mean those on the streets already. You see somebody selling small kiosks, selling bread, and you're giving the person 100,000 to buy more bread. Do you know what you have done for the person? Or you look at the kind of bread the person is selling, and you give the person bread worth 100,000 to sell. Profit, everything is his own or her own. They'll be happy. But when you're looking at feeding, I think that is just a loophole to loot money.
Right, interesting. Now on to, as the President speaks on salaries, welfare, student loan. National President of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Emmanuel Osodeke, has warned members against making the union struggle look like a fight for their salaries and welfare only at the expense of better public universities. Osodeke said, unions in the past made members' salaries and welfare the only focal points of their struggle when they should have fought diligently for the survival, continuity, and efficiency of public institutions and systems. He disclosed this while making remarks during a university-wide seminar with the theme, The Demands of Scholarship in the 21st Century at the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Ago Iwoye, Ogun State, adding that the union lose their jobs and welfare at the end of the day when the institutions collapsed. He also said the unions in such places fought for the survival and preservation of the public institutions and will still be standing today as its national assets and employers of labor, while expressing concern over the practicability of the federal government student loan scheme to work in favor of ordinary Nigerians from modest background, adding that the stringent conditions for accessing the scheme, it's certain that it will end up serving the interest of children from already wealthy families. He said the requirement stipulating that a guarantor of such a credit scheme must be a level 12 officer takes it away from the reach of poor students in public higher institutions across the country. Now, this is coming from ASU. The president is speaking. First of all, let us look at the student loan issue. Now, when the president spoke about the student loan, everything was supposed to start with the fiscal year, the budgets, the fiscal year. And according to Tinubu and of a truth, the budget started running. It's a full circle budget, started running from January. Now, students have gone back to school. And as it starts, school fees drive have already started. Now, institutions increased their school fees, already making it difficult for students that come from very poor background. Now, the president is saying that the stringent condition that has been attached to assessing this student loan will make it impossible for the poor children to access the loan. I mean, the child, the student whose parents are farmers or perhaps palm wine tapper in the village, how would they have access to someone who earns how much, who is at level 12 in the federal or state civil service? Doesn't that automatically cut off some set of people who genuinely need these loans?
See, there are so many ways to tell people I will not help you. And you do it very politely. I think that is what the federal government is trying to do. So many ways to tell people I will not help you. Now, what the federal government have tried to do is they don't want to come up in plain terms that we can't support these students. They have just raised the bar and make it very high. Now, if I want to give a child, if I don't want to give a child biscuit and I'm holding the biscuit and the child is disturbing me, I only need to place it where his hand will not reach. And I'll tell him you're free to take the biscuit and eat, knowing that the child cannot take that biscuit. Now, what they have done is you will have to even provide somebody that is in level 12 to sign as a guarantor for you. So if you don't know anybody in civil service level 12, you're not part of the loan. Now, if you actually want to help these people, there's a way the academic sector was before. It is very obvious that before you graduate, you do your clearance. Before you go for youth service, you must do your clearance. If you have any outstanding, you pay. It was like that before. So, as of then, schools don't disturb me for school fees. Buy your textbooks, buy your handouts, do your assignment, write your exam. Nobody comes to you for school fees. Once it is time for your clearance, they'll bring out the book and show you how much you are owing in the school based on different year school fees. And you clear up before you graduate, before you get your result and go for service. What stops us from going back to that? That is the best way of giving students loan. Well, you don't even need to give them physical loan.
If they go back to that, they will still end up frustrating students, because when you get that student loan, the idea is to go to school, empower yourself and get work, right? Now, if the student assesses that student's loan to go to school,
you will still pay back the loan.
And without, because
before you graduate,
if you pay back the loan. If the government is insisting that before I graduate, I pay back the loan, then the essence of that loan has been defeated, because while I am educated right now, I cannot graduate. I cannot access the certificate. So
and you can also graduate without getting work to pay back whatever loan it is. Now, that student loan ends as a student. Before you leave that environment to go for service, you must clear your loan. They are still pushing the same thing back to the clearance students normally do for every outstanding. That is what they are pushing back to. But they are making it very obvious that you're not owing the school, you're owing the federal government. I don't know if you're getting me. Now, what stops the federal government from saying every of our institution, any student that is owing school fees or whatever, let the students go ahead and write exam. Let this money be in figure, not in cash. It simply means I am to pay you back 50,000 naira and I'm to write exam. I'm to pay school fees of 50,000. The federal government comes in and you give me a waiver and say you pay this money before you graduate? I'll say yes. You have given me a soft loan without interest. That is a loan without interest. The interest will only come in where there is an increment of school fees, and I'll have to pay on the current costs of the school fees. Now, what I am looking at the federal government doing is allow students to go to school. It simply means I'm in first year. I might not have the school fees to pay in first year. And by second year, I might have enough to pay for first and second year. I pay my school fees, but I did not miss my first year exam because of school fees. Now, at the end of this, people spend up to 6 months, 1 year doing their clearance, sorting for money to settle the school. Now, even though they give you loan or they don't give you loan, if you're owing the school at final year, you must pay. But now what is happening in schools is that you don't allow students write exams because they are owing for that particular academic year. No. You allow them because you're still with them and they're not going anywhere. And they cannot they cannot get their certificate, they cannot go for youth service until they clear. So why should I be disturbing you now? I should wait for you at the end. Because I know that every mother, every father struggles to meet up school fees. It simply means I might not meet it up this exam period, but I can meet it up after the exam. You still pay your school fees. These are the things we are looking at. But when you say collect loan, after they finish with those guarantors and the heirs, you approve loan, they will still pay it before they graduate. Because once they leave the school sector, you can't hold them with anything. They have collected a certificate, they have gone for youth service. What are you holding them for to pay the loan? It becomes a normal gift to Nigerians. They won't. And if you hold me and tell you, so I can never get job. Nigerians have not given me job. Until they give me job before I will be able to pay your money. And now you are faced with the responsibility of giving me job to pay your money. So these things are calculated. You must pay the loan before you leave the school. But what we are saying is you are making this loan not to be accessible.
Now, what's the guarantee that if a student has someone, a guarantor at level 12 and above, what's the guarantee that the guarantor would even agree to be one? Because what it means invariably is that if the person signs an undertaking and stands as a guarantor, in a situation where the student is unable to pay back, the government automatically starts withdrawing
from the salary.
So how is that going to play out?
That is what I've told you. If you don't want, there is a software of saying I will not help you. But you come up and make it look as though I will give an example. Somebody some time ago decided to help somebody, but he doesn't have the money. And he told the guy, I have a plot of land. Go find a buyer and let's sell the land and I'll give you the money you need. In fact, the money he wanted to give to him was almost worth the complete land. When he said that, I knew that he don't want to give the guy. He gave the guy the document and said, look for a buyer. Anybody that will buy the land, no problem, look for a buyer. He gave the guy the documents and even channeled some persons that we are pricing the land and the rest of it to the guy. The guy started following this up, not knowing that he cannot sell the land. Because the guy have made it impossible for him to sell, but the guy want to see that, let me show you that I want to help you, even when I'm blocking you from selling. So when you don't want to help somebody, you give conditions that you know the person cannot meet. Because indirectly you're telling me if I have an uncle that is in level 12, he should pay my school fees. That is just what you have said. You have just told my uncle to pay my school fee because by the time my uncle signed that and I'm not being able to pay you, deduct it from his salary, he will come back for me and he knows I will not pay him, then he has paid my school fees for the whole year. So they are pushing you back to your brothers and sisters, your fathers, your uncles and the rest to pay your school fees. They are not coming to help. If you want to help the common man, make academic. First of all, you're increasing the school fees, or not even reducing it. And you're telling me come and take loan, and you're increasing the school fees. So that what will happen? These two things cannot work. If you want to help somebody first, if you find out that it is difficult for me to pay the school fees, and you find out that in schools, out of 100 students, 80 will pay part payment of maybe 60,000 if the school fees is 120. Why not you reduce the school fee to 60,000 so that they won't owe? Why don't you reduce it to 60,000? Yes, so that they won't owe and tell them go to school. After all, at the end of it, after everything, you still have text, they will buy textbooks, it goes to the lecturers. They have some other things they have to pay, clearance and the rest. It goes back to the school sports. And they from that they pay the lecturers. So you're still making profit from this business. Why not reduce the school fees?
Interesting. Now on to hardship. TUC pulls out of planned protest with NLC. Trade Union Congress has stopped the planned two-day national nationwide protest declared by the Nigerian Labour Congress over the high cost of living, inflation, insecurity and hardship in the country. The Vice President of the TUC, Tommy Etim, said the decision to protest on February 27 and 28, as announced by the NLC, was not taken collectively by both unions, adding that in the later dated February 19, 2024, by its Secretary General, Dr. Nuhu Toro, said the NLC unilaterally took the decision on a planned protest, while the Department of State Services warned organized labor against the planned mass action, saying it could be hijacked. This is coming after the NLC had on February 16 declared a two-day protest, which will begin after the expiration of the 14-day ultimatum it issued to the federal government, which will expire on February 22 today, while he was warning on the account of alleged failure of the government to implement the agreement reached on October 2, following the removal of the fuel subsidy and other economic reforms, which had triggered higher transportation costs, inflation, and general hardship. The NLC and TUC earlier on February 8 gave a two-week ultimatum to the government to meet the demands ranging from wage increments to improved access to public utilities, and accused it of failing to uphold pledges to soften the impact of reforms after an emergency National Executive Council meeting on the state of the economy and matters related to insecurity in the country. While the NLC President Joe Ajaero also accused the federal government of failing to implement the agreement reached in October. Now, Honorable Israel, TUC has pulled out of the planned protests. Now they are saying that NLC took that decision on their own and they came on board with it. Now after the DSS came out to warn against the protests, saying that it could be hijacked, TUC decided to pull out. Now, the question is, when NLC made that announcement, TUC did not go against it. Instead, TUC joined forces with NLC to go on a nationwide strike. Considering this, does the excuse TUC is giving now, blaming NLC for unilaterally taking decision, does it have any weight, or does this have a political undertone?
First, DSS did not just speak. In Nigeria now, Nigerian is like a gunpowder. Gunpowder don't like fire. Once you drop anything that relates to fire, it will blow. That is the way Nigerian is now. The mistake you will not want to do is to come up with any organized protest that will cut across states. You might not quench it. That is just the truth, because people are looking for loopholes now. People are hungry. They are looking for loopholes. And that loopholes will not affect the big fish. It will still affect the small business people around. You know, when there is a protest and somebody's shop is vandalized, it will be as if that person was targeted. That is the same thing that will happen. We have not seen anything. What happened, NSAS is, in fact, it will be a child's play if Nigeria does not tackle this issue in the next few months. What will happen? It will just be like one person dancing on the road shouting and the next person joining the person. Before you know, you cannot stop the crowd. Now, what TUC is doing is they are trying to avoid being on the black book, whoever that is leading of the presidency. Because any strike you're going for, any protest you're going for, the executive arm is not always okay with it, because you're making people to see the loopholes in the government. They are not always okay with it. And that is why sometimes when NLC comes with the idea of strike, after some time, the federal government says, let's negotiate, and they will call off the strike. At the end of the negotiation, nothing comes out. What they are talking about is something that happened since last year, November, or so, that they have not been able to implement. October, they have not been able to implement. And sorry, they can't implement whatever agreement they have with you. And one thing I will say is, let us stop this start and quench approach to things, especially the NLC. Today you announce strike, that you're going to strike by next week, and by that next week you tell everybody stand by. Why? There is something that is going on, yet the problem is not solved. when they came with this whole meeting the minimum wage and the rest of it, they say so many states are not implementing. Because of that, we'll do like this, we'll do like that. At the end of it, they say stand by. Did they implement? No. So if you want to get things done as per se Nigerian Labour Congress, go ahead and get things done on your own, based on all the people under you being the civil servants. Come out and get things done, but don't go on strike. Now, why would I don't encourage strike is that if there is hunger, the worst thing I can do is to close down my shop. I will manage let my shop be opening every day to sell, no matter how small, let me be seen. If I shut down the shop, it's a problem for me. And I am part of the persons that supports if you go on strike for 10 months, you don't be paid for 10 months, you didn't work.
No.
I am part of the person that support that because you can't be at home and say you will not work and expect me to pay you. Now, but you can complain and make sanctions. You can hold me on some side of productivities and you're still at work. I will know that something is going wrong and I will respond. There is something that happens in this pipeline welders union or something like that. They decided that they are not being paid well. They have a union, they are not being paid well, and because of that, they will not, I think that was in Port Harcourt, and because of that, they will not respond to some of these jobs and the rest. They passed a law in your company where you work. You don't go to site to do any practical work, but you're at work. And that was a union-wide thing. And you can't sack them because they have the backings as a union to do so. So you will be seeing them at work, but they can't implement whatever you want them to implement. At the end of the month, you pay them because they came to work, not by sitting at home. Until that thing was over, there was no work done. Almost all oil companies suffered for it. So what I am looking at is you opting out from a protest because you feel that it will be hijacked. Definitely it will be hijacked. We are not saying maybe. Definitely. Once there is a protest and it's big, don't expect it to stop. It will be hijacked. That is sure. And when it's been hijacked, it will make this country ungovernable. Because so many persons will take advantage of it to destroy so many things.
Now,
and it will make this country so ungovernable.
Now, let us look at the reasons for the protest. Then I'll still come back to a statement you made about the NLC can get things done without a strike, not even a protest this time around, but even without the strike, they can still come to work and get this done. We'll come back to that and look at the feasibility of that. But first, let's look at the reason for the protest. When Joe Ajaero, the president of NLC, was talking, he spoke about the fact that the wage has not been implemented yet, as agreed. Now, the federal government, after that, came to pay only 1 month, as against the other months, only 1 month. Now, he is of the opinion workers go to work every day of the month, and they are paid less than 30,000 naira. Even against the current economic reality. As against the legislators, for example, because I'm citing his example, he said, as against the legislators that sit once in a while and they earn millions. Not only do they earn millions, look at the welfare package of legislators as against the civil servants in the country. Was it not this the same government that used over 500 billion to get vehicles for legislative arm of government? Now, the government is complaining and crying that the economy is in crisis. The Tinubu-led administration has come out to say they inherited a poor economy from the Buhari-led administration. But even in that outcry, has still gone further to get a supplementary budget of over 1.3 trillion naira just to buy cars. The same government has approved 72 billion naira for Hajj pilgrimage. These are just one out of so many. The president, Tinubu-led administration, the presidency, in fact, has almost expended its budgetary allocation for travels. So and that is within 8 months, and the president has not gotten up to 1 year, has not gotten up to 2 years, but the budgetary allocation has been expended. Now, when you look at these things critically, at what the government considers priority, as against the welfare of the civil servants who are working to even raise these monies for the government, do you think is fair? Don't you think the NLC protest, the planned protest, is fair? Because if the government has the money to spend on governance, spend on living in luxury in elected positions, shouldn't civil servants even earn more? You're talking of a retired governor being paid 100 million naira annually, as against a civil servant, a retired governor who served perhaps in elective position for 4 years or 8 years, being paid 100 million naira annually, as against a civil servant who served for 35 years, retired, and is earning how much again? 15,000 naira. But that's a fact.
Okay.
So do you think that the agitation of NLC is not valid?
I did not say it's not valid. Now, you have analyzed some things and I will help you to analyze more. I did not say it's not valid. But what I'm saying is don't go to strike. You can protest.
We'll still come back to that.
You can protest. Now, all those things that were done, did the legislative protest? No. Did they go to strike? No. You can't change a man's priority no matter how you try to convince him. It will take somebody that has the country at heart to consider so many things to do. I would say Rivers State have gotten a governor that have been a civil servant. So he understands the pain of civil servant. And if you watch, almost every week he wants to do something for civil servants. Because that is where you understand how they were treated. He understands it. And not just understand, he has it in mind to do. Now, no matter how you convince him not to do for the civil servant, he will tell you, I have heard, and tomorrow you might hear a bigger one for them. So, look at the country to be, no matter how you shout on this civil servant salary issue, they might not increase whatever that is going on. One is because the leadership of the NLC is a problem. National Union of Labor Congress is a problem. You call for a dialogue, and what you are dialoguing for have not been accepted. It has not been implemented after the due time. You will call for a protest, and you will be called back for a dialogue, and there is no dialogue that goes without a Ghana must go or an envelope. And when you come back, you tell your people, stand by, even when it is not implemented. Now, what are you actually, have we actually looked at the report of the NLC chairman anytime there is a dialogue with the federal government? What does he actually tell the civil servant? Hold on, let's see if they will implement. That is always the statement. When they don't implement it, come up again. You see cancel it and say, hold on, let's see if they will implement. For how many years? No implementation. So this whole thing is not coming from. In fact, if for any reason you give an order that every civil servant, if you go to work, just remain in your office and do no job, and then all states decide to obey it, indirectly you have shut the whole states down. That is what it means. Even when you are at work, it's painful when you are seeing that the person to do the job is there but is not doing the job. Not by sitting at home. It's painful, so you can't say you did not go to work. If you remember what happened with ASU some years back, when the federal government said, we will pay you, but we will not pay based on the time you stayed at home for strike. And that became a different argument altogether. Now, if I am going to work, and at the end of the month, you must pay me because I went to work. Now, you do not make all the necessary provisions, that's why I could not function. That is the whole thing. So, for me, I am looking at, if you want to look at the legislature, what they go on with, you won't be happy with this country. I said one of the senators came up to say the problem this country has is the constitution, not the people. And if we don't change the constitution that was done in those days, we'll be having problem now. Now, what the legislators go on with, for sitting 1 or 2 times a week, sometimes they sit less than 5 times in a whole month. It's mind-blowing. In fact, if you take one of them, you take his salary from the National Assembly, you might pay up to 10 to 15 civil servants for a month and still have change. But that is what one person might be going home with.
More than 20 civil servants.
Okay. No, it depends on how much they receive.
Level. Okay.
Now, these are the things we look at and we say it is not healthy. The day I came to realize that a professor in university is not paid up to 600,000. I was like, so why are you professor? Professor of what? That is the value we have given to the educational system here. Now, the same value we give to the educational system, we have transferred it to the workforce of this nation. So we don't value the workers. Rather, you must come through two different means, but it must be through elective means. One is as executive or legislators, a legislator. Those are the people that eats the buck. Every other person, in fact, our appointee, a day appointee, can even be earning far more than a permanent secretary. I mean, political appointee that is appointed to just, in fact, for no reason, maybe for just as a kitchen, essay on kitchen matters. You'll be surprised that what a permanent secretary is going home with, the guy is going home with it times 2. Minus the whole connection to other projects, other supplies that happens within the government. So, if you want to go by that, you discover that the country is not in for civil servants. And that is why I will be begging you to pay me 30,000 for a month. And that person I am begging is seeing over 100 million. He's seeing over 50 million. He's seeing over 10 million for a month. But I'm begging him to give me 30,000 for the month. They prefer you begging than paying you for services.
Well, as it stands, NLC is no more going for 30,000.
Even though they say they want to go for 1 million. The question is, they promise you 30. They have not done it. You're calling for 100. You're calling for 150. Where would they pay it from if they have not done it? Now, we are shouting that the legislative arm, the lawmakers, aim more. Remember that for you to downsize their salary, their allowance, and all the rest, it will pass through the assembly. If you were sitting in the assembly, you raise a bill for your salary to be reduced. For the whole flexing, they call it travel allowance. As Okpabio gave them, say the team, whether the Igwe what have landed in the account, say check for your travel expenses. And he didn't know that he was on live coverage. Now, he let us know that there was Christmas bonus for you to go and flex. But for the civil servants, you give a bag of rice, they say it's too much. You almost cut 10 persons will share one bag of rice as Christmas bonus, one rubber. That is the level they believe. And let's see the process of coming into office. You applied, you were employed. I bought form up to 100 million. I did campaign up to 500 million. And I spent other money. Then I also paid for the rigging up to maybe 500 million. At the end of the day, I'm spending 1.something billion to come to office. These are the processes of coming to office, and these are the processes of being employed. Being employed is you applied. They saw you're okay. Maybe if you pass through the back door, you pay maybe 10, 20, 50,000, 100, they employ you. These are the two wide range. And that is why no matter how you push them to reduce, they won't reduce. They see those other persons as not a human being. After all, what are they doing in the office? And they also see the federal government is also overwhelmed. But they can't come out to start sacking people. They also know that the workforce is crowded. They know that civil servants, as in the NLC, is crowded with none, as in both ghosts and people that are not functioning. So when you push for an increment, they look at assumption of being ghost workers if it is up to a particular number. This is what is going as waste. They look at people that don't even stay active at work. This is what is, that's why I said it is better.
The government does not have the will to implement, because there is a table for
it is the same thing you are saying. At this time, how can you lay them off? Those are the same mindset they're having. If not, if you want to look at the country critically,
these are issues that have been going on before this time.
And we said let's actually, Nigerians have been suffering for years. The only difference is that the suffering comes level by level, and that is why it's as if after some time we'll get used to it. If from now we start buying rice 120,000, after we shout for 1 week, 2 weeks, people go say no be rice, we go still chop them. At the end of it, that is dead. We don't hold things and want to get it done. Now, what we are facing is, if this young man, the chairman of NLC, can come out boldly and say, we want to achieve this. Federal government, no negotiation. Implement the ones you have said, and this is what we are asking for. We will not come to work, we do no active work if you actually want to go on strike. And when you come for negotiation, by negotiation, we are not coming for it. The only thing negotiation we want to hear is implement the ones we have negotiated. And when you stay at home 1 week and all ministries are shut down, all ministries, I mean, are shut down, let it be their political aides that will follow commissioners and ministers to the office. No office will work. And there are some offices that you need the signature of the civil servant to carry some things out. So no office will function. Permanent secretaries go nowhere. Directors go nowhere. Everybody is seated at home. Let everybody, as in the whole nation, sit at home. Nothing like this state is saying that, but we are not owing. It's not about you owing. It's about a union fight now. If it can happen for 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, they are saying that nothing is done because there's another thing about civil service work. We know that there are many in the service, but the truth about it is, if they are not functioning for 1 week, so many activities will not be carried out. If the clerk of the assembly is not seated, you can't carry out some things in the National Assembly. There is no sitting in the National Assembly. And the clerk is a civil servant, and he's on strike. And the 36 states, all their clerks on strike. Nobody is coming. Assembly will not sit. So you don't have the legislative working. Let's go over to the judiciary. You have them same as clerk in the judiciary. They will not sit. So if you say you're going on strike, it will affect both the judiciary, legislative, and the executive arm. Because the executive arm functions in ministry with the permanent secretaries and the rest of them. All the appointed commissioners, you cannot function because there is no permanent secretary, no director, nothing. So all your activities in that ministry, nobody will carry it out. But whereby you go for 1 day strike, the second day you say they have called us for negotiation, so go back to work while we negotiate. You're not ready to get results. So we expect, if you want to get it done, forget every other thing. Take the pain. They might not pay us for 1 month. They might not pay us for 2 months. We are suffering already. Let's suffer completely. And as we go, nobody goes anywhere. If you go to work, you'll be sanctioned. Any state, if the governor wants to negotiate, you should go to the national and negotiate, not on the state level. We don't want to see any Nigerian Labour Congress chairman from state level coming to the federal, to national to negotiate. Let your governor come and negotiate. And if he's coming to negotiate, tell him, go and discuss with the president. Let him do the right thing. And when that is done, you find out that the 36 state governor will hold an emergency meeting with the presidency and looking for solution because their state will not be functioning. These are the things we know they can do. I hope you know also that if this is done, it simply means even the staffs working in the Central Bank of Nigeria should be put on hold. That is what it means. They will be completely on hold. The CBN is no longer functioning. Nigerian Airport Authority no longer functioning. Seaport Authority no longer functioning. Let everybody go. And let's see what happens. And you find out that there is no way the government can function. It cannot even stop a month. They will call them. And when they are calling, it's not for negotiation. The negotiation is let the alert of the former ones enter the workers. In fact, a time has come whereby the National Labour Congress is supposed to be autonomous when it comes to their finances. It simply means, as you put us in the budget, every month send our own to us. Completely, we pay our staff. And if there's an increment, we will increase it for our staffs. Based on the executive permission, the legislative permission, we increase it for our staffs. The legislative run autonomy now, financial autonomy. So every month, you send the allocation to them, they pay themselves. Why not, that is to the state level, though, down to the state level. So why not do the same thing to National Labour Congress? Whereby every month, this is how much you send to them, they pay. If there's an increment, they will not be asking of an individual salary now, it's an overhead cost. We need 10 billion naira to be added. They know how to split this 10 billion to reach their people. You only supervise to make sure that one person is not holding the money. So if these things are not done, then if you like go to strike, call back the strike, go to the road again, people will only come your protest, hijack it. Because when they want to go to strike, they will do protest 1 or 2 days, and they will say don't go to work.
Right.
To see if the government will do anything.
Right.
If you want to do the protest, simply means you want to shut the country down. That is what it means. Because by the time you start from Lagos, once you enter road, Lagos boys will join you. Nobody knows who is a civil servant and who is not. And when they do that, for the first day, the second day, once there is a port that comes out to the road to cook indomie, you know that that strike will not end. It has come to stay. That protest will not end. It has come to stay. People will travel from different states just to go and join them in Lagos to cook that food on the road and eat. Because that is just some people will see their one-time meal a day. Okay. So, and that protest will not end. Especially now that people are ready to sponsor people to eat. People are ready to do giveaway publicly. And they see that kind of a crowd. They come there to do giveaway. That thing will not end.
Okay. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll look at hunger crisis. Makinde slams Ababio claims 30 billion naira to states falls. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
When peace like
The Ejogu family of Umunna in Amuju in Isu local government area of Imo State cheerfully mourn the demise of their daughter, sister and mother, prophetess Kola Ijoma Ejogu, whose sad event occurred on Saturday, 5th of January 2024 at UPTH. Burial arrangement, night of tribute. Date is Thursday, the 29th of February 2024. Time is 4 p.m. and venue is Wish Complex, Wish Avenue Radio Estate, NTA Road, Uzoba, Port Harcourt. Burial service, Order of God of Abraham Ministries. Date Sunday, the 3rd of March 2024. Time 10 a.m. prompt. Venue Umunna in Izu, local government area of Imo State. Retirement follows immediately after service. She is survived by Mrs. Roslyn Obona Murder, Raphael, Richard, and Wisdom sons, Sonny Ejogu, Ugochukwu Ejogu, Chukwudi Ejogu as brothers, and Kechinere Sebastian sister. May her soul rest in peace. Sign, Apostle Sonny Ejogu and Senior Leader Raphael Ukuduri Ejogu on behalf of the family. From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring honest pop news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it.
Welcome back. Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State has declared that there is no truth in the claim by Senate President Godswill Akpabio that states got additional 30 billion naira each outside of their statutory revenue allocations to address the food insecurity. The governor stated this on Thursday, noting that Oyo did not get any 30 billion naira from the Federal Inland Revenue Service or the federal government. Makinde, who had added that he has been doing everything to cushion the effect of the economic hardship on the people, warned that leaders should instill confidence and hope in the citizenry in this trying time rather than playing blame game. The governor added that apart from Oyo not getting 30 billion naira from any agency or department of the federal government, he could say the same for his colleague governors as vice chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum. He said, "This is not the time to play politics, as we have real issues that deserve real solutions. But yesterday, I saw the video and read in the news where the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, made a statement, though he said it was unverified report, stating that the state government received additional 30 billion naira from the Federal Inland Revenue Service outside of our statutory allocation in the last few months to address food security. Please listen to me loud and clear. I can speak for Oyo State and can also speak for any of my colleagues. This is because as the Vice Chairman of Nigeria Governors Forum, I know when things are happening. If I want to play politics, I will keep quiet and let this slide, but I'm not going to let this slide. FIRS cannot give money to any state. It is not possible. All revenues accruing to the government goes into the federation account and it is distributed to all tiers of government. The federal government does not give any states money. The money in the federation belongs to all of us. It does not only belong to the federal government. So if the Senate President, who is the number 3 citizen in this country, could be quoting an unverified report, people are looking at us as leaders. This is the period that we are supposed to give confidence to our people. This is not the period to start playing politics or to start looking for scapegoats. We need to engage with our people. If our policies are not working, we need to listen to the people and amend. So if the number 3 citizen has had nothing but unverified reports, why did he need to say it? Does his statement give confidence to the people or solve the problem of the hunger and anger in the land? Let me say it clearly. As for your state and most of my colleagues, there is nothing like 30 billion naira being given to states for food security, and I stand to be challenged. Yes, the federal government promised the states 5 billion naira, and out of that, it only gave 2 billion naira, and they are even asking that the 2 billion naira should be refunded right now. It is the responsibility of the federal government to manage the fiscal situation in Nigeria and manage the inflationary trend so that we have in the country right now. Honorable Daniel, I just want to get your perspective on this without much ado.
When somebody is elected as the Senate President of this country, I think there should be a month or 2 months training on what is required of a Senate President. From the inception of Godswill Akpabio as the Senate President, we've heard so many things that we are not supposed to hear. Some of them they said it is true, but some of them they said it's not true. But trust me, I look forward to everything that comes from his mouth. I don't take it for a joke again. I take it to be that it's a discourse and agreed matter. Maybe this 30 billion naira was agreed from the presidency and it was not given to these states. Maybe it was meant to be given to the states. And what I expect Sheyi Makinde to do, he has cried out, which Nigerians will be very happy with him. Because what they are trying to do now is, Senator Godswill Akpabio is trying to push responsibilities back to the states. He is trying to make the people look the government, their state government as being responsible for not helping them, that the federal government have settled enough. And these things happen in politics and we close our mouth most times, hoping that we are trying to cover our lapses. We are trying to cover the federal. But thank God for Sheyi Makinde that I come out and say I will not play politics with it. Because if he wanted to, he would have closed mouth and would believe it is true. And the state will be struggling to meet up. You can imagine your state government receiving maybe 25 billion naira as a monthly allocation and additional 30 billion. Yet for that month, nothing new is done. You start blaming them for it. Now, why I said it is necessary anybody elected as a Senate President to go for training to know how Senate President should act, behave, and react in public. You are part of, in fact, Godswill Akpabio have been part of government for as long as I can remember, close to 20 years now. Close to 20 years. He has been in the Senate, he has served 8 years as a governor, he has been in the Senate, and now he's a Senate President. He has served in this nation. So, if there is anybody, one person to hold responsible for some of these challenges, I will hold him also. I will hope him to be part of the people that have actually made wrong decisions for this country. Because you served as governor, you are part of the executive council. There is nothing that happened in this nation that you're not part of. You served as the Senate as a lawmaker, and whatever goes on in this country is decided from the Senate. Now you're the Senate President, and things are getting worse. You can't blame anybody. You can't push responsibility. You're the number third person. So when we shout, Tinubu, respond. Tinubu is not doing well. The president of this country is not doing well. We are expecting to shout. We will call your name because you're the Senate president. Most things that is passed in the House is by you. We have seen what happened in the past. How we fight to be Senate president and the rest of it. How much was spent to be Senate president. And I believe those money were not spent for you to come up. Those votes we are not giving also for you to come up to give us unverified information. As the third man in the government, we believe there is nothing the president would do without letting you know. Because you're in charge of the legislature, the National Assembly. So he will let you know. And you coming to accuse the states. You know, in this part of the country, we don't sue people for what they see. You coming to accuse the states for receiving up to 30 billion, and they would not even 30 million, not even 300, 30 billion, and they should be held responsible for some of these activities. That is in a nutshell what we have said. I think it's a suable offense because you are instigating things in the mind of Nigerians. For you to, in fact, mentioning 30 billion for every common citizen of this nation, it's like you're calling something he will never reach and you're telling him one man is with it. And that is his governor. And the governor is using it to do nothing. I am from River State. And you telling me that my governor has additional 30 billion. If I wait for 1 month, I don't see it. There are some broadcasts I will do against him. Why? Because I want him to start using that money to work for Rivers people. Now, if I had done that and now discovered that your information was false, you have misinformed Nigerians. And that is why I said it's a suable offense. Before you come up to say anything, somebody of that caliber, you should be 100% sure. That was not a deliberation in the House that you're not yet concluding. This is a press statement made by you. And thank God Sheyi Makinde have reacted. I am waiting for other governors to support him to also react that I have not received. Now let's come down to 5 billion naira that was given. That was the one the federal government was asking the PDP governors. That the additional money that was the PDP governors now, when they said the presidency should look into...
The federal government promised 5 billion but gave 2 billion.
No, they were saying there was an additional money, extra money given to the states. That was the proposed 5 billion.
Yes.
Now, letting us know that PDP governors should come and tell them what they have done with the money, not the governors, because the PDP governors pointed out things that they felt was wrong in your administration, and you picked on them. Now, your Senate president is coming to say 30 billion have been given. It simply means there might be an agreement and that money might have entered the APC governor's hand.
Well, you are making this.
No, I'm trying to analyze. I'm alleging.
You are alleging.
I'm trying to analyze what he is saying.
Okay.
For him to come up to say governors have received, although he's here to verify, it simply means there is an agreement of this money to be received by governors, and you're trying to verify if they have received. You know, you believe that this money they will be receiving it. Now, if that is the case, it simply means the PDP governors should also try to find out from their brothers from the APC angle if such money came to the APC states. That is it. Because Sheyi Makinde is the vice chairman of PDP Forum, Nigerian PDP, this is Nigerian Governors Forum. And he said before any money will shift to anywhere, before anything will happen, he will be on the known. And no money have been released. He can speak for his state. This is politics. Let him speak for his state. Let him not speak for other states because he don't know the agreement, he don't know the arrangement that is going on. Now, for him to come up also and say the 5 billion that was made open that will be given to governors, out of the 5 billion, we were giving just 2 billion. And inside the 2 billion, they say we should return it. See, let's not take it that the problem of this country have affected so many persons. I don't want to use some words. If a Senate president will come up and say something that is not verified, and the federal government will pay money to states, and after some time you're asking them to return the money you have paid to them, simply means the money was paid by mistake. The money was paid because you have not actually concluded what this money would be used for. The money was paid because there was no proper sitting before you agreed to pay that money. Paying that money was like, people are hungry, oh yeah, take, and see what to do. Oh yeah, bring it back, no need to spend it on food again. Let's not present to Nigerians that we are confused in leadership. And that is what the same thing Shea Makinde is trying to point out. So before you say anything, be sure of it. If the number third man is not sure of what he's saying, remember that people are watching us as leaders. He is trying to bypass some words. But the truth is, he has actually said some things before now. And Nigerians picked on it. It trended on the social media for some time. Nigerians will always laugh with things. Yes, and we laughed over it. That was, I think, December or so. We laughed over it. He was also saying some things about letting the poor breathe and the rest of it. And it was as if it was a joke. We took it to be a joke. When he was saying that those in support of letting the poor breathe, may you say I, we laughed thinking it was a joke. Now, we have seen that the poor is not breathing, no. The poor is actually choked up. So, I don't know if the eye they did that day in the house was actually eye to allow the poor breathe or not to breathe, because he should go back and pass the same law and hit his, and he actually hits that thing. I don't know if he was playing with the whole of these things. He should know that before you stamp some certain things by asking the house, those are serious matters. It's not a joke. And if you want to joke, you go it off camera and play. All work with that play make Jack a double, we agree. But this particular thing you did, I noted it down, and I told some person, I said one day, I was on air already, I said one day we will understand why this particular let the poor breathe. If you're supposed to say I will go out, because very soon it might be difficult for the poor to breathe. And presently, the poor is not breathing, no. Some of them are in coma. They are not breathing because of what? Hunger. So, if some of these things this man has said, is, I don't even take this one to be a joke. If some of them will take it to be a joke, me, I don't take it to be a joke. See this 30 billion naira, I will follow it up to be sure if it was agreed and it is not paid, or actually if this money for each state don't get leg, or it was a joke, because you can't come out and be joking as a Senate president. No. So let us not take words as a joke from the leaders. Anything they say, even when they laugh and tell you about who will suffer in this country, don't think it's a joke. The president has come up also to plead with Nigeria, and that things will soon change. Just go through this baby of suffering. Remember that every baby will grow up. And if you have a baby of suffering, simply means that baby will grow up to be an infant of suffering. Before you know, it will be a teenager of suffering. And by the time it is an adult of suffering, there is problem. So why encourage us with such kind of statements that as it stands, we should just go through the baby of suffering, that things will change. There is no time frame of things changing. So for me, I am looking at it that within them at the head of affairs, they know what they are doing. The president, is only Shetima that is not talking. The president have said, let's pass through baby of suffering. The Senate president, being the number third person, have said 30 billion have been released. Not verified.
Vice President Shetima has come out to plead with Nigerians to, be patient with the government, but also alleged that the protests are being sponsored and,
what I say is not talking. Why? Remember that when they had a meeting with, when the presidency had a meeting with the 36 state governors, he said that the food idea, the food structure, management of food management structure that was presented by Shetima had been kept aside. It simply means he also brought an idea on how it will go, and it's not going, it's not working. And they kept it aside. That was on air. Now, I look at it that he's not talking based on, he can't say anything without the president saying. You can't just come up as a vice to start talking. So, we are looking at the Senate president and the president. And we are also looking at the rep, the National Assembly, the Speaker of the House of Rep. If they say anything within, you know that that thing will soon be passed. They're only giving you a clue of what has been submitted. Now, Shea Makinde should expect that something better will come. But since he has also come up to say it, they might still hold it back. They might also want to make it a coded thing, but the Senate president voiced it out. Now, where I want to dwell on a little is, for me to return 2 billion, if I'm the governor, I will not return it. I will come up and address my people. This 2 billion naira, make sure you use it for your people. We have used it on this, on this, on this. Why are we returning it? Who wants to use it? These are the things they should find out. If I return it to the federal government, what will you use it for? Won't you still come back to the states? Is there any place called the federal government, if not state, and states? So where will you use it for? So for me, I'm looking at it that the federal government, I have said before, I said this particular government, they have been overwhelmed by the situation. They never expected it to be like this. As of yesterday, dollars 1,918 naira. Today, I should believe it's up to 2,000 plus. Now, they are overwhelmed by the situation, the rising of things, they're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do about it. Every unit is trying to talk to provide a solution, but things are actually going more higher. It's going wrong. And I will say that if they actually want to solve this problem, we should not be looking up. We should look down. There is a problem that we can solve down. The petroleum industry, the fuel stations, they are the ones responsible for the increment of the petroleum products you buy. It is not from the depot. It is not from NNPC. It is from the fuel stations. And I can say it completely because I'm involved in petroleum. It is from the fuel stations. Now, you see a depot price as of this heat, the whole of this crisis is going on. As of even yesterday, is ready to give out at 640. And you want to sell for 800. And you're not even willing to buy for 640.
So why is the
You're even coming down, you're even trying to price it down to 630. Then, normally you buy 630, you sell between 650. You're still making loss of gain. Because you can exhaust 45,000 litres, which is 1 trailer load. You can exhaust it between the space of 2-3 days. If you don't even have inflow. If you have inflow in a day, you have exhausted it. So, accumulation of your profit in a month is worth millions. So, why do you still want to sap and draw Nigerians down? You sell almost 800, 770, 780, 790 when you buy within 646. You don't even buy up to 650. That 640 is including logistics. So we are doing ourselves this thing. It is not, nobody is doing us. Now, food insecurity is there, we know. But what happens when I go to my farm and harvest what I planted and I process it by myself with a normal firewood and I increase the amount to what people cannot buy? So we are doing ourselves. So from the leadership, I am believing that it is 100% necessary for them to sit down and be organized so that they don't start telling Nigerians things that will incite so much violence. Because by this thing he have said, and even Shane Makinde did not come up to talk about this, you will find out in all media platforms, you'll be seeing that additional 30 billion are beginning to states. Yet they are not doing anything significant with it. That is what will be coming out. But thank God he has said something. And it means that he don't want to be political. When I was in university, there was something that happened, and they call it politics. The rep member then in Aba, the rep member came to the school and said, "Oh, final year students is giving us laptop, computer science students," and we were so happy. They brought the laptop, they heaped it in our front, and he made his speech. They carried the laptop, put it in the motor, and sent it back. And they started interviewing people. Have you received? Have you received? They'll carry laptop and give in their hand. When you talk, they'll collect it from you and give to the next person. In my very before. And when they came to me, I said, "Oh, guys, if I hold this laptop, I will scatter it here, or nobody will use it." And they said, the interview is okay, they should leave them. The students started getting angry. You packed everything and went off with it. And we are seeing on national television that you have empowered us with laptop while nothing was given to us. So I think that is what Shane Makinde is trying to do now. He's trying to come out to say we did not receive. If he wanted to play politics, he will close mouth, everybody will be clapping for the federal government. That the federal government have tried. But with what he has done, he has exposed them that they have done nothing. So, Nigerian, the executive arm, should organize themselves. Organize yourself in the sense that before you take decisions, don't be overwhelmed by the whole situation. Cool down and take your decisions. Nigerians will always be crying because the situation is hard. But when you take the wrong decision, you make us cry more. So it is better you just cool down and make a decision. But for Senator Godswill Akpabio, please, you don't want to even hear me talk again. You should mind National Assembly issues. Do whatever is National Assembly and leave the executive hand to function. Don't come and announce what have been discussed or what have not been concluded, so that you don't misinform Nigerians.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Israel Daniel, for being a guest on the show today. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is where we wrap it up on this episode of Blowout. Do not forget you can stay connected to us on all ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, Twitter, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Do not forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching. I am Ugu Laurentia Achuma.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics,